Hey everybody, welcome back. I've got about a million cicadas in my front yard screaming at me, so hopefully that's not too loud in this video. But today, what I'd like to do is continue off what we did in the last video with this data set that we were working with. I went ahead and processed all these lines, but I'm going to go ahead and take this folder and drag it in here. And you can see these little blue lines, those are all of my multibeam lines. And this time we're going to look at the basic plot widget. So if you go in here into the converted section of the project tree and click on one of these folders, which is your data container, you can go up here to basic plots. You click on that. So when this widget opens, you can start at the top and think about what part of this container with these 8 lines do you want to look at. I've found that the nicest thing to do is just go over here and just trim by line. So you can see when I click on that, it allows you to subset this data set with just the min-max time of the line. Right? So down here, this is like the start time of the data set and the end time. And these control the times that you're looking at. And then this box here tells you how many pings are within this section. If you're trying to just look at something and not use up a lot of your memory, and not try to pull the whole thing into memory, it's useful to limit it to just a certain amount of pings. Okay, so let's just pick one of these lines. So down here, this is the source. It aligns roughly with the source folder. So these are your data sets within the data set. One for attitude, one for your ping records, one for navigation. You'll see multibeam, attitude, navigation. So these are basically like one and the same. So let's just click on navigation first. And then here are your variables, the data sets within navigation that you can look at. Let's try latitude, for instance. And then we'll go ahead and hit plot. So what you're seeing here is the latitude versus time for this line, 0003. And if I go down here and I pick longitude, you'll see the same. There's the longitude for this line. Neither of these are all that useful. Let's try to find something a little bit more interesting. Let's go to attitude. This is pretty common. You want to look at the pitch, say, of your line. You want to look at the roll of the line. You know, maybe you have some problems where your attitude is creating artifacts with your data. You could zoom in on a specific time range. All of these times are in UTC seconds. You can see that here. One thing that's useful if you want to get like a date that you can easily understand, you can click over to UTC datetime and you can get the date in UTC. That's kind of useful. And then there's multibeam records. So the multibeam data, this is a little bit more dense in the fact that you're looking at a time dimension and a beam dimension, right? Each ping has many beams. So if you're looking at, for instance, here's the raw angle of each beam, it's probably more useful to look at it in an image. So here you see the time for each ping, and then the beams in each ping, and the values are in colors, right? So here on the starboard side, you're up to like 60 degrees, and here on the port side, you're up to like negative 60 degrees. So this gives you the beam values, the beam angle values for each sounding, for each ping. And if you want like a easily understandable, translated sort of view on that data, a histogram is kind of nice, right? This tells you the count, and here's your bins, the count in each bin value for this variable. And what I've tried to do here, that's a little bit different than some of the other multibeam processing software packages, is include all of the variables that I use, all of the things that I create that are just intermediate data things, like your corrected beam angle, for instance, right? I generate this in the processing, so you can look at it, and you can compare the two. And there's all sorts of these. You'll find that you can click around. Here on the right, there'll be a description of the variable and the plot that you're doing. There's all sorts of things you can do in here. You can look at, say we were looking at the heading again, you can plot the pitch, and then you can add to that plot, say the roll, maybe you want to compare those things, or the heave. Some of this gets a little weird because then your y-axis might represent different things, but you can sort of concatenate these plots in this way. And then the last thing I'll talk about are these custom plots. And you can click around these just to get a better feel of what's actually going on. But one thing I've found that's kind of useful is that you can plot in Kluster the here are the corrected beam vectors. So if you take this spyglass here and zoom in, this should work. I have done this before. Let's see. Must be my zoom area. There you go. Right, these are the beam vectors, the corrected ones, and this gives you an idea of your swath, and it's an animation, so you can fast forward. You have to click it a bunch, and then this gives you sort of like a playback of your line, which is kind of useful. Everything in the custom is just something that I've sort of come up with that I find to present like a useful picture of the data. Okay, so I'll let you click around there if you'd like. Feel free to leave in the comments any questions or ideas you have about this widget. And until next time, I will talk to you later.